We fight for that inch.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Villkoret är att jag får leva.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Hey there, welcome to Real Genius. I'm Chris Vognar, culture critic of the Dallas Morning News.
And I'm Robert Wilonsky, who uses a computer at the Dallas Morning News.
We all do, though, really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So, Robert, in the winter doldrums, these times when absolutely nothing seems to be coming out or seeing, lo and behold, a Coen Brothers film just pops up on the horizon like a mirage.
Hey, Bridge of Spies, they co-wrote.
I know. They were actually very good in that.
Yes.
As co-writers.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of a barren season for movies. It always is.
January and February are traditionally the months during which you're supposed to be catching up on Oscar bait.
So I circled this on my calendar because there ain't much coming out.
Hail Caesar is the
lately.
film to which you refer.
Hail Caesar.
Hail the Coen Brothers.
Hail the Coen Brothers. This is one of their, I use the word shaggy or shaggier kinds of movies, kind of a lark. But I really, really enjoyed it. It's a Hollywood farce, a classic Hollywood farce, a farce set in classic Hollywood, with a lot of crazy stuff going on, and then these very loving, meticulously done and very funny homages to various genres.
Set during the golden age of the studio system.
Correct.
When MGM was a mighty golden mare.
And main character is Eddie Mannix, or he's based on. Eddie Mannix in real life was a pretty horrible, well, he did a lot of horrible things.
He was a fixer.
He was a fixer. He was the heavy at MGM, and he was so important that he was an executive at the studio. He was way up there while he was going off and doing things like procuring abortions for starlets. And
that doesn't look, what do you think that looks like on a resume? Like things you do for a living.
He did the dirt. He was the Ray Donovan of MGM, if you will. But here he's kind of a nice, or at least a bit much softer guy played by Josh Brolin, who has a kidnapping case on his hands. George Clooney plays a movie star starring in a biblical epic, and he is kidnapped and
by Newman.
I don't know. Yeah, by Newman from Seinfeld, by Wayne Knight. I don't know how much we should give away because I love the twist of who the kidnappers are.
Yeah, you know that they're the future. That's
Right.
how they've been presented in the trailer. But the trailer doesn't tend to give much away. In fact, the trailer is wildly misleading in terms of what you think the film is actually about. You sort of think it's Scarlett Johansson playing Esther Williams kind of character teams up with the singing cowboy, teams up with the Gene Kelly song and dance man played by Channing Tatum to go find George Clooney. But that, in fact, is the antithesis of what happens. In fact, what I found so intriguing about it is the fact that many of these big-name stars, Jonah Hill and all these other folks, don't really appear in it all that much. This is a film that ostensibly stars Josh Brolin and a bunch of other big names in very small parts, which is sort of what makes it kind of great. They all add up. It reminds me of an old studio film, to which big names were tethered by contract to these studios. They had to appear in kind of anything and everything, and here they kind of do anything and everything, whether you have them in song and dance routines or as singing cowboys or whatever. But they're just not integral to the film itself. They're just these sort of joyful little cameos that are scattered throughout.
They are quite joyful, I must say. Let's take a look at one of those. Let's look at Channing Tatum at the very beginning of his musical number, which turns into an all-out sort of Gene Kelly-style tap dance routine. But this is Channing Tatum performing No Dames.
We are heading out to sea, and however it'll be, it ain't gonna be the same. 'Cause no matter what we see when we're out there on the sea, we ain't gonna see a dame. We'll be searching high and low on the deck and down below, but it's a crying shame. Oh, we'll see a lot of fish, but we'll never clock a dish. We ain't gonna see a dame. No dames.
We might see some octopuses.
No dames.
Or a half a dozen clams.
No dames.
We might even see a mermaid.
But mermaids got no dams.
No games.
And that number goes on for quite a while. It has a lot of dancing. It's quite delightful. I shouldn't be surprised when I see Channing Tatum pulling something like this off anymore. But dude is talented and
wildly talented.
And he adds something new almost every time out. So he's a lot of fun. Scarlett Johansson, you mentioned, plays a Esther Williams type character who has a mermaid Busby Berkeley style swimming number. She's a lot of fun. Jonah Hill has a very small part.
As a person,
a regular person.
He's just, that's how he's referred to.
Although
that's his function, he's a person.
Although he ends up serving a sort of part of the subplot involving Scarlett Johansson.
There's 85 subplots.
And then in the middle of this we have, it's sort of the studio executive's horrible day and how he deals with it. Meanwhile, he's also being courted by Lockheed Martin at the height of the Cold War. It's very goofy. It's very clever. I think it's going to be seen as sort of a Coen Brothers maybe throwaway kind of movie, but I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
See, I love the fact that the Coen Brothers use George Clooney in these kinds of films. Intolerable Cruelty is one of my favorite Coen Brothers films. I think it's one of the more maligned, if not completely overlooked, Coen Brothers films.
That one and The Lady Killers, I think. Also.
The Lady Killers as well. It's a remake. The Lady Killers was a remake with Tom Hanks of an Alec Guinness film. But I like how they've always used Clooney. Whether it's in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou as a sort of a Clark Gable-esque kind of leading man, or in as Cary Grant basically in Intolerable Cruelty, or here sort of as a combination of both. In fact, there's a reference he makes to Clark Gable before Gable was Gable.
Right.
There's they know how to use Clooney's very sort of old school Hollywood charm.
His movie stardom.
Right, and that's kind of what this movie is sort of predicated upon, that idea that he's still that kind of old school movie star, which I think is kind of wonderful.
It is very smart, and he is sort of that kind of old school movie star.
Right, but it's one of the few movies to recognize, one of the few filmmakers to use that to their advantage and to make fun of it while doing so very lovingly.
And he's so in on the joke.
Oh, yeah.
He seems to be enjoying himself so very much.
I mean, this is, in an interesting way, a sort of spiritual companion piece to a film that I really liked last year, Trumbo. I think they really would. I think you should see Trumbo before you see this. In some ways, they really do work as intriguing bookends of that particular era in Hollywood. I think it's really fun.
It's sort of Trumbo on lapping gas. It's sort of this.
It's like if Trumbo met Airplane
version, exactly.
I mean, it is like the Zucker brothers version of Trumbo, and I loved it. I mean, I really did love it. I took my kid to see it. He really was desperate to see it, and I didn't understand why. We walked out, and he said, it's not as funny as the trailers make it look. But there are parts of it that I found wildly hysterical. Whether it's where Ralph Fiennes is trying to teach his, and it is one of the trailers.
Twere it.
Would that it were. There's that sequence. There's a sequence with Frances McDormand as an editor. Again, a very small part, which is a great sequence. The dancing sequence, when Scarlett Johansson sort of breaks character for the first time.
The Roy Rogers singing cowboy.
The Roy Rogers singing cowboy sequence is great. It is, I think, their funniest film in a really long time. But it's also, like I said, their most joyful. I'm always very skeptical of films about films, because it just seems the easiest device for filmmakers to fall back on. Well, let's just make a movie about what we know. But the Coen brothers have done that for a really long time. What is, Raising Arizona, their very first film, is nothing but a really knowing noir. I mean, it's just a throwback to the days of, Fred McMurray and Barbara Stanwyck.
Hudsucker Proxy is a screwball comedy.
Hudsucker Proxy is a screwball comedy. Intolerable Cruelty is a screwball.
What does Barton think?
Well, Barton Fink's a film about the film business.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of... This is sort of one of those films that feels inevitable in filmmakers' careers. All right, we're going to take everything we've ever done and mash it into one film that is just... I don't know if... They'll never be able to make another movie about the movie business. They made the really dark, glum, bleak version in Barton Fink, and here they made really the funny, bright, joyful version of it. I mean, they have made really tremendous bookends to how we perceive the golden age of Hollywood. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, I want to see it again.
There's just so many things in it that are packed throughout, whether it's, it made me want to run out and go see On the Town again or Anchors Aweigh again. Yeah. It made me want to see Spartacus again. Yeah. It made me want to see, anything with Roy Rogers. I mean, it really is just a wonderful commercial for a period of filmmaking that is long lamented.
And
We
yet
always
it
say,
al-
why don't they make them like that anymore? Well, they
Right.
just made it like times 10 here.
And yet it's also very knowing and winking about some of the things that were happening beneath the surface that weren't quite as savory, and it has fun with that idea. Of
Are you saying the
guy
things
who-
that happened on Wings of Eagles?
Did we ever find out? Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
did
we
find
did
out what
find
happens
out.
on. Yeah, that's sort of the thing that goes throughout. He's got some Clooney's character has this dark secret, something
Right,
that happened on
Tilda
the
Swinton's-
set of Wings of Eagles.
Tilda Swinton's Hedda Hopper times 2.
Twins,
The
yes.
twin Hedda Hoppers has a secret about George Clooney that she's going to reveal the story of a lifetime.
Right.
Something that happens on the set of Wings of Eagles. And every time somebody says on Wings of Eagles, you actually hear an eagle squawk in the background. I mean, it is Airplane. But it is Airplane made by the smartest filmmakers working. I mean, it's funny, you think about the fact that these are the same guys who directed Josh Brolin in No Country for Old Men. And then to see what they do with him here, he's great, everybody's having the time of their life, and it's just a wonderful experience.
Go see Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar.
See it twice.
Especially if you love old Hollywood, especially go see it. But I think even if you're not a TCM addict,
If you're a 12-year-old, you'll love it.
yeah, you'll still like it. So, Hail Caesar, go see it, and come see us next week.